Hello and welcome to this video tutorial where we go on adding functionality to the JavaScript application we started in the previous video. We will now add a comb box that will allow the user to change the behavior of the diagram. By default, dragging the mouse over empty area creates a node. Dragging between nodes links them. There are plenty of other options. We will demonstrate several of them. First, we have modified the CSS styles of our web page to accommodate the additional HTML elements we will use. We have changed the orientation of the main flex container to column. We have also defined a new style named top bar where we will place the UI controls. Let's initialize now a new div element which will be the top bar and define a select element in it. We check the online documentation for the possible behavior values to choose from. As you see, they are quite a lot. In general, the draw something members indicate a behavior where certain diagram shapes will only be drawn: containers, tables, nodes, and so on. When the behavior starts with link, users can both draw and connect diagram shapes. So, we create a new options tag inside our select element and provide a string that identifies the designated behavior as its value. We do this for the rest of the behavior options we have selected: draw containers, draw tables, modify, and pan. It is important that we provide the select control with an ID. Now, in the code behind file, let's get the DOM element that corresponds to the select control. We will declare it as a global variable. We attach an event handler to its change method. Now, let's implement the event handler. We get the value of the select control and check it. Let's see whose member the behavior property is. It is of diagram view, so we need to make diagram view a global variable so we can access it in the event handler. Next, we assign to diagram view the various behavior options depending on the selected value. Let's refresh the page and see if this works. We change the behavior to draw tables, and tables are drawn on mouse drag. Modify allows us to move and select shapes. Let's move our nodes far into the work area so we can move them back again with pan. Pan allows us to pan the diagram with the mouse. Draw Containers does exactly this. Draws containers where we can place nodes. As you see, we cannot draw links between nodes and containers. The behavior for that is link containers. Now let's add a button that locks and unlocks diagram items. A locked item does not allow any user interaction on it. We declare a new HTML button next to the select control and give it an ID. In the code behind file, we declare a global variable for it and get the DOM element for the button. We also need an event handler for its click event. Let's implement the onClick event handler. We need a reference to the diagram, which is a property of diagram view. We get it, and we get the nodes in its selection property. We need to check if there are selected nodes at all. If there are, we will lock the first node, if it's not locked. If it is, we will unlock it. We use the enabled handles property for this check. Let's see it in the documentation. It is of type adjustment handles and has plenty of options, which determine how a diagram item can be modified by user interaction. We will go for the two extremes. Either we will disable any modification or enable all modification. Since the button works both ways to enable and disable the adjustment handles, we have to check which is the case. Now, if everything is correct, we must be able to lock items. And here it is. Once an item is locked, it cannot be moved or resized. If we select multiple items, only the first one will be locked. The last modification option we are going to demonstrate now is the Modification Start property. Its members determine how diagram items are modified. So far, we modified items after we've selected them. If we set the Modification Start property to Auto Handles, we could modify items on mouse hover. Let's see. Yes, hovering over the item is enough to render the modification handles. And that's all for this video tutorial. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your interest in MindFusion developer tools.